The sprinkler system soaked Teddy's designer suit as he stumbled out of my building, looking like a drowned rat in $1,000 fabric. That was 3 weeks ago. Today, my wife showed up at my door crying, claiming she couldn't live without me. What she didn't expect was her sister stepping out of my bedroom with a satisfied smile. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how Felix roared, a 40-year-old compliance officer who most people considered boring, orchestrated the most satisfying revenge of his life. My name is Felix Roard, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had the perfect life. Perfect wife, perfect apartment, perfect job analyzing financial irregularities for Morrison and Associates. The only thing that wasn't perfect was my wine fridge, which hummed like a fading moose every night at 3 a.m. Brielle, my wife of 8 years, planned luxury events for Manhattan's elite. She was gorgeous, successful, and had this way of lighting up a room that made everyone forget I existed, which, as it turned out, was exactly how she liked it. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday morning in March. I was reviewing quarterly reports when I noticed something odd in our joint account statements. Cash withdrawals, lots of them. 500 here, 800 there, always from ATMs I didn't recognize. "Babe," I called out as Brielle rushed around our apartment, gathering her designer bags for another client consultation. "Did you take out cash yesterday? 800 from that ATM on 5th? She paused, her hand frozen on the door handle. Just for a second. Then she turned with that radiant smile that used to make my knees weak. "Oh, that? Yeah, the Hendersons wanted to pay their deposit in cash. Tax thing, you know how it is." I didn't know how it was. The Hendersons were tech moguls who probably hadn't touched physical money since the Clinton administration. But I nodded and went back to my spreadsheets. The second crack came 2 weeks later. Brielle announced she was taking a solo retreat to Vermont. "I need to reconnect with myself," she said, not meeting my eyes. "The stress of wedding season, you understand?" What I understood was that my wife, who once claimed camping was nature's way of punishing poor people, was suddenly interested in rustic getaways, alone. "Want me to come with you? I could use a break from the office." "No!" The word shot out too fast, too sharp. She softened it with a laugh. "I mean, this is about finding my inner peace. You know how you get around nature. Remember the Hamptons?" I remembered. I'd spent most of that weekend calculating the probability of tick-borne illness transmission while she networked with potential clients. Fair point. She left on Friday. By Sunday, I was checking our credit card statements online, a habit that Brielle called obsessive and I called financially responsible. The charges told an interesting story. No Vermont retreat center. Instead, dinner at Le Bernardin for 2, a room at the plaza, and breakfast at a cafe I'd never heard of. When she came home Sunday night, glowing with what she claimed was mountain air and meditation, I was ready. "How was Vermont?" "Amazing, so peaceful. I feel completely renewed." She kissed my cheek, and I caught a whiff of expensive cologne, not mine. "That's great. Hey, did you know someone used our card at Le Bernardin Friday night? Weird, right? I should probably call the bank." The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. "Oh, that. I met an old college friend. We decided to splurge instead of doing the retreat thing. Spur of the moment." "College friend?" "Sarah Martinez. You don't know her." I nodded and smiled. "Sounds fun." What I didn't tell her was that I'd already called Le Bernardin. They remembered the reservation, not under Sarah Martinez, under Theodore Voss, Teddy Voss, real estate developer, married, and according to the society pages, a regular at all the same events where my wife worked. The burner phone fell out of Brielle's gym bag on a Thursday morning. She was in the shower, singing off-key to some pop song, when her bag tipped over and spilled its contents across our hardwood floor. Makeup, protein bars, her regular iPhone, and a small black phone I'd never seen before. I shouldn't have looked. I should have just put it back and pretended I'd never seen it. But I'm a compliance officer. Investigating irregularities is literally my job description. The text thread with T was illuminating. T. Can't wait to see you tonight. Same place? B. Yes. Felix thinks I'm at the Morrison charity thing. T. Poor bastard. Does he suspect? B. Please. He's too busy with his spreadsheets to notice I could be gone for a week. T. When are you going to tell him? B. Soon. After the divorce is final and I get half of everything. Then we can be together properly. I sat on our kitchen floor, holding evidence of my wife's betrayal, while she sang in the shower about love and heartbreak. The irony wasn't lost on me. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through weeks of messages, hotel reservations, plans to move in together, detailed discussions about how to maximize her divorce settlement, and worse, much worse, were the messages about me. T. What's he like in bed? B. Let's just say I fake more than a politician during election season. T. LOL. Poor guy. B. He thinks romance is balancing the checkbook together. I haven't been satisfied in years. I took screenshots of everything, then carefully placed the phone back in her bag. When Brielle emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in the towel I'd given her for our anniversary, I was sitting at the kitchen table with coffee and my laptop, looking like the boring husband she'd described to her lover. "Morning, babe," she said, kissing the top of my head. "I've got that Morrison charity thing tonight. Probably won't be back until late." "Sounds good. I'll probably just work late anyway. Got some irregularities to investigate." She didn't catch the double meaning. She never did. That afternoon, I called my sister-in-law, Maris. Brielle's younger sister was a clinical therapist with ice blue eyes and zero tolerance for bullshit. She'd never particularly liked me, but she'd never particularly liked Brielle either. "Felix, this is unexpected. Is everything okay? Can we meet for coffee? I need to talk to someone, and you're the only person I trust who knows Brielle well enough to understand." There was a long pause. "She's cheating on you, isn't she?" "How did you—" "Because I know my sister, and because you sound like every husband who's ever sat in my office after discovering his wife's affair. Coffee sounds good. I'll bring tissues." We met at a small cafe in Soho, away from Brielle's usual haunts. Maris looked exactly like her sister, but where Brielle was all warmth and charm, Maris was sharp angles and brutal honesty. "Show me," she said after I'd ordered us both coffee. I handed her my phone with the screenshots. Her expression didn't change as she scrolled through them, but I saw her jaw tighten. "Teddy Voss," she said finally. "I know him. He's been married to Patricia for 15 years, 3 kids. You know him?" "He's been one of Brielle's clients for 2 years. She planned his daughter's sweet 16. Maris handed back my phone. "I'm sorry, Felix, but I'm not surprised." "You're not?" "Brielle has been cheating since high school. Different guys, same pattern. She gets bored, finds someone exciting, and then burns everything down when she's ready to move on." Maris stirred her coffee slowly. "I thought maybe marriage would change her. I hoped you'd be different." "What do you mean?" "You're stable, reliable, the kind of man she said she wanted to settle down with. But Brielle doesn't actually want stability. She wants the security of stability with the excitement of chaos on the side." I felt like an idiot. "So, everyone knew?" "Not everyone, but her friends. They gossip. I hear things." Maris leaned forward. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Confront her? File for divorce?" "You could, or—" She paused, studying my face. "You could be strategic about it. Brielle's planning to take you for everything you're worth. But if you're smart, if you're careful, you could turn this around." "What do you mean?" Maris smiled, and for the first time since I'd known her, it wasn't a nice smile. "I mean, my sister has been underestimating people her whole life. Maybe it's time someone showed her what that feels like." Nash Williams had been my friend since college, back when I was studying accounting and he was studying criminal justice. Now he ran a private security firm, and more importantly, he understood the value of careful documentation and strategic thinking. "So let me get this straight," Nash said, reviewing the evidence I'd compiled over the past 2 weeks. "Your wife is cheating with a married real estate developer, planning to divorce you, and she thinks you're too stupid to notice. That's the situation. And you want to what, exactly? Catch them in the act? Hire a PI? I want to destroy them. Legally. Completely. But I want to do it right." Nash grinned. He was 6'3", built like a linebacker, and had the kind of smile that made smart people nervous. "Now you're talking my language. What's the plan?" "First, I secure our assets. I've already started moving money to individual accounts. Everything legal, everything documented. Second, I document everything about the affair. Third, I make sure that when this goes public, they're the ones who look like fools. And fourth, I make sure Brielle understands exactly what she's losing." My assistant Rita was surprisingly enthusiastic about the project. At 29, she was sharp, ambitious, and had always been frustrated by how people underestimated her boss. "Mr. Roard, I have to say, I've been waiting for this day for months," she said, helping me organize financial documents in my office. "You knew? About Mrs. Roard? Please. She called here 3 times last month asking about your salary, your bonuses, your retirement accounts. She said it was for financial planning. But who needs to know their husband's exact net worth for financial planning?" Rita had already prepared a comprehensive asset protection strategy. "Everything's legal," she assured me. "You're just exercising your rights to individual financial management. The joint accounts stay joint, but your personal assets are protected." "What about the apartment?" "Lease is in your name only. Has been since before you were married. She has no legal claim to it." "And her business?" Rita's smile was sharp. "Well, that's interesting. Apparently, Mrs. Roard has been using your joint credit cards for business expenses, which means you're technically a business partner, which means you have every right to review her client contracts." I spent the next week studying Brielle's business like I was auditing a Fortune 500 company. What I found was fascinating. She was good at her job, but she was also sloppy with boundaries, personal relationships with clients, informal agreements, and most importantly, a reputation that depended entirely on discretion and trust. The Morrison Charity Gala was on Friday night. Brielle had been planning it for months, and it was supposed to be her biggest success of the year. Manhattan's elite, major donors, society page coverage, everything she lived for. "I'm so nervous," she told me Friday morning, adjusting her dress for the 3rd time. "This could make or break my reputation." "You'll be perfect," I said, kissing her cheek. "You always are." What I didn't tell her was that I'd already made my own arrangements for the evening. Nash picked me up at 7 in his black SUV. "You sure about this, Felix? Once we do this, there's no going back." "I'm sure." The Morrison Gala was being held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. 500 guests, open bar, and a silent auction that would raise millions for children's charities. Brielle was in her element, gliding between guests in a silver dress that cost more than most people's rent. I watched her work the room for 20 minutes before I made my move. She was talking to the Hendersons, the tech moguls she'd supposedly collected cash from, when I approached. "Mr. and Mrs. Henderson," I said, extending my hand. "Felix Roard, Brielle's husband." "Oh, Felix!" Mrs. Henderson smiled warmly. "Brielle talks about you all the time. You're the accountant, right?" "Compliance officer, actually. I investigate financial irregularities." I smiled. "Speaking of which, I wanted to thank you for paying your deposit in cash. Brielle mentioned it was for tax purposes." The Hendersons exchanged confused glances. "Cash deposit?" Mr. Henderson said. "We paid by check, 6 months ago." Brielle's face went white. "Oh, that cash was for someone else. I got confused." Easy mistake, I said cheerfully. Numbers can be tricky. I excused myself and headed for the bar, where Teddy Voss was holding court with a group of real estate investors. He was exactly what I'd expected. Tall, tanned, expensive suit, and the kind of confidence that comes from never being held accountable for anything. Teddy Voss? I approached with my hand extended. Felix roared. I think you know my wife, Brielle. His handshake was firm, but I caught the slight tension in his shoulders. Felix, of course. Brielle's mentioned you. You're in finance, right? Compliance. I investigate fraud, embezzlement, that sort of thing. I smiled. Actually, I've been looking into some irregularities in my wife's business accounts. Cash transactions, unexplained expenses. You know how it is. Sure, Teddy said, his smile becoming forced. Well, I should get back to my wife. Patricia's around here somewhere. Patricia, I'd love to meet her. I'm sure she has stories about working with Brielle on your daughter's party. Teddy's face went gray. Actually, Patricia didn't work with Brielle. I handled all that myself. Really? How hands-on of you. Most husbands leave party planning to their wives. I walked away, leaving Teddy standing at the bar looking like he'd swallowed glass. The real show started during the speeches. The MC was introducing the major donors when I made my way to the AV booth. Nash had already taken care of the technical details. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, we'd like to thank our event planner, Brielle Torin, for her exceptional work on tonight's gala. The spotlight found Brielle, who smiled and waved gracefully. That's when Nash hit the switch. The main screen, which had been displaying the charity's logo, suddenly filled with a slideshow of photos. Brielle and Teddy at Le Bernardin. Brielle and Teddy entering the plaza. Brielle and Teddy kissing in what they thought was a private corner of a restaurant. The gasps from the audience were audible. Brielle stood frozen in the spotlight as her affair played out in high definition for 500 of Manhattan's most connected people. But the best part was the final slide. A screenshot of her text messages blown up for everyone to read. Felix thinks I'm at the Morrison charity thing. Poor bastard doesn't suspect a thing. The irony was perfect. She was at the Morrison charity thing, and now everyone knew exactly what kind of person she really was. The video went viral within hours. Someone at the gala had recorded Brielle's face when the photos appeared on screen, and by Saturday morning, Charity Cheater was trending on social media. I spent Saturday morning in my office officially catching up on work, but actually monitoring the fallout. Rita brought me coffee and updates every hour. Mrs. Henderson called, she reported at 10 a.m. She wants to discuss concerns about your wife's professional conduct. Also, 3 other clients have called asking to review their contracts. And Brielle? 17 missed calls. She's at her sister's apartment. That was interesting. Maris hadn't mentioned that Brielle was staying with her. My phone rang at noon. Maris. Felix, we need to talk. Brielle's here, and she's falling apart. I imagine she is. She knows you were behind last night. She wants to explain everything. I'm sure she does. There was a pause. Can you come over? I think it's time you two had a real conversation. Maris lived in a converted brownstone in Brooklyn Heights. When I arrived, I could hear Brielle crying from the hallway. Maris let me in with an expression I couldn't read. She's in the living room. Fair warning, she's not handling this well. Brielle was curled up on Maris's couch, still wearing the silver dress from the night before. Her makeup was smeared, her hair was a mess, and she looked like she'd aged 5 years overnight. Felix, she said when she saw me, struggling to sit up. Thank God you're here. We need to talk about last night. What about it? It wasn't what it looked like. I mean, it was, but it's not what you think. I sat down across from her. What do I think? You think I don't love you. You think I'm just using you. But that's not true. Teddy was a mistake, a stupid, meaningless mistake. Meaningless? You've been seeing him for 8 months. You planned to divorce me and take half my assets. You told him I was bad in bed and that you've been faking satisfaction for years. Brielle's face crumpled. You read my messages. I read everything. The hotel receipts, the credit card statements, the texts about how stupid I am. All of it. I never said you were stupid. No, you said I was too busy with spreadsheets to notice you could disappear for a week. You said I think romance is balancing the checkbook. You said I'm so boring that you have to fake more than a politician during election season. Each quote hit her like a physical blow. Felix, please, I was venting. I didn't mean any of it. Which part didn't you mean? The part where you called me a poor bastard? The part where you planned to take me for everything I'm worth? Or the part where you told your lover that you haven't been satisfied in years? Maris appeared in the doorway with coffee, watching the conversation with clinical interest. I was confused, Brielle said desperately. I was going through something and I made terrible choices. But I love you. I've always loved you. You have an interesting way of showing it. I know how this looks, but Teddy means nothing to me. He made me feel exciting again, like I was worth pursuing. You and I, we got comfortable. We stopped trying. I stopped trying? I'm not the one who's been lying for 8 months. You stopped seeing me. When's the last time you planned to
In my house! You bastard!
Relax, man. It's just business.
Please, don't shoot!
Get off!
You won't do it. You don't have the guts.
Don't! Please don't shoot him! Please! I'm begging you! Don't do this! No! Please, no!
Prize for me. When's the last time you did something spontaneous? I looked at her for a long moment. Last night was pretty spontaneous. Brielle flinched. That's not what I meant. I know what you meant. You wanted me to be someone else, someone more like Teddy, rich, flashy, exciting. The problem is you married me, not him. I can change. We can fix this. How? Counseling. Therapy. I'll do whatever it takes. I looked at Maris, who was leaning against the doorframe with her arms crossed. What do you think? Professional opinion? Maris considered the question seriously. I think Brielle is scared. Her affair is public, her reputation is destroyed, and she's facing the consequences of her choices for the first time in her life. Whether she's genuinely remorseful or just desperate, that's harder to say. I'm genuinely remorseful, Brielle protested. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you, but we can get past this. Can we? Because according to your text messages, you were planning to file for divorce next month. You already talked to a lawyer about maximizing your settlement. Brielle's face went pale. How did you? I'm a compliance officer, Brielle. I investigate things. It's what I do. She started crying again, but this time it felt different. Less desperate. More defeated. What happens now? She asked quietly. Now you deal with the consequences of your choices. Your clients are reviewing their contracts. Your reputation is shot, and your boyfriend is probably dealing with his own problems at home. What about us? I stood up. There is no us. There hasn't been for months. You made that choice when you decided I wasn't enough for you. Felix, please. I'm done, Brielle. I'm done being the boring husband you complain about to your lover. I'm done being the poor bastard who doesn't suspect anything, and I'm done pretending this marriage is worth saving. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Brielle? The apartment lease is in my name. You have until Sunday to get your things. Sunday morning, I was drinking coffee and reading the newspaper when my phone rang. Nash. Felix, we might have a problem. Teddy's on his way to your building. He looks pissed. I looked out my window and saw a black BMW pulling up to the curb. Teddy got out, straightened his jacket, and headed for the entrance. "Let him come up," I told Nash. "I'm curious what he has to say." The knock on my door came 5 minutes later. When I opened it, Teddy was standing in the hallway, trying to look intimidating. It might have worked better if I hadn't seen the photos of him stumbling out of the plaza looking disheveled. "We need to talk," he said. "Do we?" "You destroyed my marriage. My wife left me yesterday. She took the kids." "I destroyed your marriage? That's interesting. I wasn't the one sleeping with someone else's wife. You humiliated me in front of 500 people. You humiliated yourself. I just provided the documentation." Teddy pushed past me into the apartment. "You think you're so smart, don't you? The boring little accountant who got his revenge." "Compliance officer. And yes, I am smart. Smart enough to know that you're not here to apologize. I'm here to tell you that this isn't over. You cost me my family, my reputation, my business relationships. You think I'm just going to walk away?" I closed the door and leaned against it. "What exactly are you planning to do, Teddy? Beat me up? Sue me? Because I should mention that everything I did was completely legal. Public documentation, financial records, photographs taken in public places. No laws broken. There are other ways to destroy someone." "Are there? Because from where I'm standing, you're the one who's been destroyed. Your wife knows about the affair. Your business associates know. Your social circle knows. What exactly do you have left to threaten me with?" Teddy's face was red with anger. "I could ruin your career. I have connections." "Really? Because I checked. Your company has been under investigation by the SEC for questionable development practices, bribing city officials, cutting corners on safety inspections. I'm sure my boss would be very interested in that information." The color drained from Teddy's face. "You're bluffing." "Am I? I'm a compliance officer, Teddy. I investigate financial irregularities for a living. Did you really think I wouldn't look into your business practices once I knew you were sleeping with my wife?" I walked to my desk and picked up a thick folder. Falsified inspection reports, undocumented cash payments to city officials, safety violations at 3 different construction sites. Should I go on? You can't prove any of that. I don't have to. I just have to report suspicious activity to the appropriate authorities. They'll do their own investigation. Teddy stared at the folder like it was a loaded gun. "What do you want?" "I want you to leave my building, leave me alone, and disappear from my life. In return, I'll keep this information to myself." "And if I don't?" "Then you'll find out what it's really like to be destroyed by someone who's smarter than you." Teddy looked around my apartment, taking in the neat bookshelves, the organized desk, the careful attention to detail. For the first time, he seemed to understand what he was dealing with. "This isn't over," he said, but his voice had lost its edge. "Yes, it is." After Teddy left, I called Maris. "How is she?" "Brielle? She's packing. She'll be out of your apartment by tonight." "And how are you?" There was a pause. "I'm impressed, actually. I didn't think you had it in you." "What, revenge?" "Strategic thinking, patience, the ability to play a long game." Another pause. "Brielle never appreciated how dangerous intelligence can be when it's properly motivated." "Dangerous? You destroyed 2 people without breaking a single law. You used their own actions against them, turned their strengths into weaknesses, and made them complicit in their own downfall. That's not luck, Felix. That's skill." Monday morning, I was back at my desk, reviewing quarterly reports and pretending my life hadn't completely changed over the weekend. Rita brought me coffee and a stack of messages. "Mrs. Roard called 6 times, she reported. "Also, 3 potential new clients for compliance consulting. Apparently, word is getting around that you're very thorough." "New clients?" "People who want to make sure their business partners aren't hiding anything. Your reputation for finding irregularities has gotten some attention." I was reviewing the first new client proposal when my phone rang. "Brielle." "Felix, please don't hang up." "What do you want, Brielle?" "I got the divorce papers. You're not asking for alimony, you're letting me keep my business. and you're not pursuing damages for the affair. That's right? Why? I considered the question. Because I don't need your money, I don't want to be connected to your business, and I don't need a court to validate that you betrayed me. I just want you out of my life. That's it? After 8 years of marriage, you just want me gone? Brielle, you spent 8 months planning to leave me. You told your lover that I was a poor bastard who didn't satisfy you. You were ready to take half my assets and disappear with another woman's husband. What exactly did you think would happen when I found out? I hoped you'd fight for me. Fight for you? Against who? Against Teddy? Against your own choices? Against the person you decided to become? I shook my head, even though she couldn't see it. I don't fight for people who don't want to be kept. There was a long silence. I made a mistake. You made a series of calculated decisions over 8 months. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. So that's it? We're done? We were done the first time you lied to me about where you were going. Everything since then has just been paperwork. 3 weeks later, I was working late when Rita knocked on my office door. Mr. Roard, there's someone here to see you. She says it's personal. I looked up to see Brielle standing in my doorway. She looked different. Smaller somehow. Less polished. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she was wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer outfits. Hello, Felix. Brielle, what are you doing here? I wanted to see you, to talk. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Okay. She sat down carefully, like she was afraid the chair might collapse. I've been thinking about what you said, about patterns and choices. And? You were right, about all of it. I did plan to leave you. I did take you for granted. I did think you were too boring to notice what I was doing. I know. I started therapy. With someone who isn't my sister. She's helping me understand why I make the choices I make. That's good. I lost most of my clients. Word gets around fast in this business. Turns out people don't want to hire an event planner who can't keep her personal life private. I didn't respond to that. Teddy and that's over. It was over the night of the gala. He blamed me for everything, said I should have been more careful, that I ruined his life. She laughed bitterly. He was right about that last part. What do you want, Brielle? She looked at me directly for the first time since she'd arrived. I want to apologize. Really apologize. Not because I want you back, not because I think it will change anything, but because you deserve to hear it. Okay. I'm sorry I cheated on you. I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm sorry I took you for granted and made you feel like you weren't enough. You were always enough. I was the one who wasn't. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or calculation, but she just looked tired, defeated, honest, maybe, for the first time in years. Thank you, I said finally. That's it? What else do you want me to say? I don't know, something, anything. Brielle, you spent 8 months lying to me. You planned to divorce me and take half my assets. You told your lover that being married to me was like being married to a spreadsheet. What exactly am I supposed to say to that? That you forgive me? I do forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean trusting again. It just means I'm not going to carry anger around for the rest of my life. She nodded slowly. The divorce will be final next week. I know. After that, I'll probably move away. Start over somewhere else. That might be good for you. She stood up. I know this doesn't matter now, but I did love you. I do love you. I just didn't know how to be married to someone who was better than me. I wasn't better than you, Brielle. I was just different. No, you were better. You were loyal and honest and steady. You would never have done what I did. You're right. I wouldn't have. She headed for the door, then turned back. Will you be okay? I'm already okay. Good. You deserve to be happy, Felix. You deserve someone who appreciates what they have. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time, thinking about patterns and choices and the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. My phone buzzed with a text from Maris. "Dinner tomorrow? I'm cooking." I smiled and typed back, "Yes." A month after the divorce was finalized, I was having dinner at Maris's apartment when she asked the question I'd been expecting. "Are you dating yet?" Not really thinking about it. "Why not?" "Because I'm still figuring out who I am when I'm not married to your sister." Maris refilled my wine glass. "And who are you?" "Apparently, I'm the kind of person who can orchestrate a complete social and financial destruction without breaking any laws. I'm still processing that." "You're proud of it." It wasn't a question. "Yes, I am. Is that bad?" "Not bad. Interesting. The Felix I knew before was careful, methodical, but passive. You let things happen to you. This time, you made things happen." Brielle forced my hand. "No, she gave you motivation. There's a difference." I considered that. "What's your point?" "My point is that you're more interesting than you used to be, more confident. You know what you're capable of now." "And?" Maris smiled. "And I think you should ask me out." I nearly choked on my wine. "What?" "You heard me. You're Brielle's sister." "So?" "So that's complicated." "Only if we make it complicated." I stared at her. "How long have you been thinking about this?" "Since you showed me those text messages. Maybe before that." "Before that?" "Felix, I never liked the way Brielle treated you. I never liked the way she talked about you. You deserved better." "And you think I deserve you?" "I think we deserve each other." 2 weeks later, Brielle showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing in the hallway with tears in her eyes and determination on her face. "Felix, I need to tell you something." "Brielle, we've already—" "I get it now. I understand what I lost. I can't live without you." Before I could respond, Maris stepped out of the bedroom, wearing one of my shirts and a satisfied smile. "Then you'll have to learn," she said calmly. Brielle froze. Her eyes moved from Maris to me and back again. You're sleeping with my sister?" "Ex-sister-in-law," Maris corrected. "And yes." "How long?" "Does it matter?" I asked. "How long, Felix?" 2 weeks. 2 weeks? We've only been divorced for 6 weeks. "And you were cheating on me for 8 months, I reminded her. "I think I'm allowed to move on." "But with her? With my sister?" Maris stepped closer to me, her hand finding mine. "Brielle, you made your choice. You chose Teddy over Felix. You chose excitement over stability. You chose to throw away the best thing that ever happened to you." "That's not—" "It is. You had a good man who loved you, and you treated him like he was disposable. Did you really think he'd wait around forever?" Brielle looked between us, her face cycling through shock, anger, and something that might have been understanding. "You planned this," she said finally. "Both of you." "No," Maris said. "I just recognized what you were too selfish to see. Felix is intelligent, loyal, and capable of more than you ever gave him credit for. He deserves someone who would appreciate those qualities." "And that someone is you?" "Apparently." Brielle turned to me. "Do you love her?" I considered the question seriously. "I'm learning to. She's nothing like you." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means she doesn't lie to me. She doesn't take me for granted. She doesn't make me feel like I'm not enough. She's my sister. She's also her own person, and she chose to be here." Brielle stood in my doorway for a long moment, taking in the scene, Maris in my shirt, my hand in hers, the obvious intimacy between us. "I can't believe this is happening." "Believe it," Maris said, "and learn from it." "Learn what?" "That actions have consequences, that people aren't disposable." That when you throw away something valuable, someone else might pick it up and treasure it. Brielle's face crumpled, but this time I felt no urge to comfort her. She'd made her choices. Now she had to live with them. "I should go," she said quietly. "Yes," I agreed. "You should." After she left, Maris and I sat on my couch, her head on my shoulder. "That was brutal," she said. She needed to see it, to understand that the world doesn't revolve around her choices. "Do you feel guilty?" I thought about it. "No. Should I?" "Not unless you want to." "I don't want to." "Good. Because Brielle had her chance. She had 8 years to appreciate what she had, and she chose to throw it away for someone who dropped her the minute things got complicated. And now? Now she gets to learn what it feels like to lose something irreplaceable. 6 months later, I got a wedding invitation in the mail. Brielle was marrying someone named David Chen, a financial advisor from Chicago. According to the invitation, they'd met in therapy and bonded over their shared commitment to honest communication and mutual respect. I showed the invitation to Maris over breakfast. "Are you going?" she asked. "Are you insane?" "Just checking." She took the invitation and studied it. "David Chen. Think he knows about Teddy?" "I'm sure she told him everything. Part of her new commitment to honesty." "Think it'll work?" I think Brielle learned something from losing me. Whether she learned enough, that's not my problem anymore. I threw the invitation away and forgot about it. A year later, Maris and I were married in a small ceremony at City Hall. No drama, no complications, no betrayals. Just two people who understood each other choosing to build something together. The night of our wedding, as we lay in bed in our new apartment, Maris asked me if I ever regretted how everything had played out. With Brielle? No. Why? Because you could have handled it differently. Quietly. Privately. I could have. But then she would have learned nothing. Teddy would have learned nothing. And I would have spent the rest of my life wondering if I was really as boring and passive as she thought I was. And now you know? Now I know that I'm capable of patience, strategy, and absolutely ruthless execution when someone threatens what I care about. Is that a warning? I turned to face her. Only if you're planning to cheat on me with a married real estate developer. I'll keep that in mind. Good. Because I'm much better at this revenge thing than I used to be. She laughed and kissed me, and I realized that for the first time in years, I was exactly where I wanted to be, with exactly the person I wanted to be with. Brielle had been wrong about one thing. I wasn't boring. I was just careful. And when careful people decide to stop being patient, the results can be spectacular.